Hey, it's always good going down the road with you. Today we're going to head to NDSU. We're going to get a chance to talk about Johnson & Johnson. How big of a threat is that to what we're doing with the vaccination? Well, we'll talk about it. Also, there's a group of individuals that want to take your right to an initiated measure away. And there's a group of individuals willing to fight it. We're going to talk to the ones that are willing to fight it. That's right. Rick Gion's going to join us today as well. But there are things going on in the area of education, and Robin Nelson has long been a champion of public education. She serves on the Fargo School Board and has not, and I stress, has not been afraid to head out to Bismarck and take on some of the tough issues which we're faced with right now. We're joined by Robin. Robin, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Hey, thanks, Joel.
I want to get a chance to visit with you a little bit about that. Really what they're talking about in many cases is exclusive rights to students in the public school system. Walk people through it.
Sure. There is a bill that passed both chambers, House Bill 1356, and it outlines a handful of organizations that are listed in United States Code for patriotic societies to allow them to recruit during the class day. And what I mean by recruit during the class day is the principals must allow adult recruiters from the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts or any of those other organizations access to children to advertise and to recruit them during the day, during their learning time. What that does, well, first of all, this initiative really started with the Boy Scouts. Apparently, they are having some issues recruiting through the normal channels. Most out of school programming recruits, through newsletters and back to school nights, and sometimes principals let them come in. That's great. This bill forces the principals to let the adults come in during the class time to recruit exclusively to those students, so the principals can't say no. Now, some other districts, the principals welcome the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts, and I love the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts. I partner with them as well. But the issue is the exclusivity. And we've run into some problems with that in Fargo, some legal issues, quite frankly. And so we allow the Boy Scouts and the Girl Scouts to recruit just like every other organization, but now we would have to let them come into the classroom during learning time. And gosh darn it, we've been fighting so long to get our kids to back in school and learn, and now it's going to be interrupted by advertising somebody who's having problems recruiting.
Well, and what I'm struggling with when it comes to it, obviously, is we pick out certain groups. Mm-hmm. Where do we stop with those groups? There's a lot of great groups out there. Mm-hmm. There's 4-H, there's FFA, we could single out groups that might be controversial, but it doesn't change the fact that these groups get exclusive rights during learning time. Have they been stopped with the opportunity to access students after hours in a public setting?
Never. Never. In fact, if we allow them by federal law, we have to allow everybody else the exact same advertising. So, really, right to life groups are allowed to advertise to our kids, but they have to do it the same way as the Boy Scouts and the Boys and Girls Club and any other out-of-school program. So this is just taking them to a different level and giving them the exclusive rights to do it during the day.
Well, and I stress this as well. Federal government supersedes state government. So we can argue all we want about a state law that's been passed that says this. It doesn't say that these other groups can get access, but it doesn't matter. Because in the eyes of the federal government, it's going to be you opened yourself up to this, and so now everybody's opened up to it.
Right. Yep, exactly. And this did happen in 2015 in Fargo. And we had to employ some high-level attorneys because there was an advocacy nonprofit group, that legal firm that was trying to allow a students' right to life group in Fargo as well. And so we had to spend a lot of local taxpayer dollars to come up with a policy that would align with federal law. This new North Dakota Century Code statute does not align with that. So we're going to be in a tough spot. You know, like I said, I love the Boy Scouts, I love the Girl Scouts. If they're having problems recruiting, you know, maybe they talk about, you know, changing their programming, you know, and be competitive. You know, maybe they're losing some kids out of school for youth hockey and things like that, but why should they get exclusive rights above everybody else just because their numbers aren't there? And why would we put that in state law? And right now, our legislature has endorsed a couple groups, essentially. Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts were the ones that were really pushing for this access during the day. It just doesn't square with my integrity.
So when you say access during the day, are you talking about at some point during classroom time? What are you talking about?
It's pretty clear here. Representatives of a youth patriotic society, as listed in U.S. Code, must be allowed to speak to students during regular school hours at each public school in the state during the first quarter of each academic year, to inform the students about the society and to explain how students may participate in or join the society. The Youth Patriotic Society shall provide the school principal with notice of the society's intent to speak to students. A school principal may designate the time, place, and manner in which representatives of Youth Patriotic Society are allowed to speak to students. So this does not allow principals to say, no, you can't come in and interrupt my learning day. Every single school, every single classroom. Some people are saying, well, it's only 5 or 10 minutes. Well, maybe it's only 5 or 10 minutes for the Boy Scouts and another 5 or 10 for the Girl Scouts, and there's 86 organizations listed in this U.S. Code. And then a handful of them are youth directed. So, you know, Future Farmers of America, Civil Air Patrol, Naval Sea Cadet Corps, you know, Boys and Girls Clubs of America. That's my organization. I'm not going to go in and interrupt my kids' learning day. You know, my organization has been around for 160 years, and we are part of these youth patriotic societies. It doesn't feel good. If you have problems recruiting and retaining, do it like everybody else. Mm-hmm. Mark it like everybody else. Put your folders in the take-home folders just like everybody else.
I want to talk about one of the overall issues, and I'm going to get to the hypocrisy of the legislature later when you're not here, because that isn't why I asked you here.
Good.
But there are examples of where the North Dakota legislature, when it looks at the Girl Scouts, really doesn't look at it the same way as they look at NDSU. But what I want to talk to you about is the interference of the North Dakota legislature into what local school districts do. And you've lobbied on behalf of school boards, and you've got a school board association, and you've been crosswise with teachers. You've had tough issues to do with teachers, as school board members have. But have you ever seen a legislative session that has tried to dictate and mandate what public schools do more than this one?
I've seen them try to, but I've never seen them succeed as they are right now. This is just a whole different world, this session in the legislature, and I've never really been afraid that some of these bills would pass, and now they are. Yeah,
well, and you know, I'm going to be honest, Robin, and again, this isn't in your wheelhouse, but we always talk about the legislature. The legislature. I mean, I'm looking at the sponsors on this bill, and they are very conservative members of the legislature. How do you change this? I mean, do you knock on Doug Burgum's door and say, look, this is the position you put us in? 3 times, at least 3 times during this conversation, you have pointed out, rightfully so, that you're not against the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts. So when you knock on the governor's door, are you putting him, with the power of that veto pen, or the request of that, in a position where he has to say he's against the Boy Scouts or the Girl Scouts?
I don't think our governor, this is not a hill to die on for him. He's got bigger issues, and quite frankly, I think our legislators did as well. Mm-hmm. But this bill still passed. That's the problem. If you oppose the bill, oftentimes I'm being called a Boy Scout hater. That's not the case, and I'm smarter than that. I work with policy, not with philosophy, and our legislators should be working with policy, not their pet groups or their pet projects. we always have to look at how these bills will be applied. If they're not vetted properly, it's pretty hard to know how it's really going to affect the end consumer. And in my opinion, the end consumer is somebody that I need to protect their education time, and that is our kids.
Are the people out there that are being champions of public education, the North Dakota School Board Association, ND United, which represents the teachers, have they taken an official stance on House Bill 1387?
Yes, they oppose it, and they all testified against it.
So both do?
Yep.
Okay, which, those two groups don't always agree.
No.
But I know that teachers are champions of curriculum, and they're champions of classroom and how limited that time is. And I also know a lot of teachers, and they're not against the Boy Scouts.
Correct.
Yeah, or the Girl Scouts. So how do you fix it then? If it's thrust upon you, do you just wait for the lawsuit, or what do you do?
We are working on policies right now. That's all you can do. Our state's scurrying, trying to write some policies. It's just a matter of time, before there is a lawsuit. This is where we're stuck. And defending it, makes people think I hate the Boy Scouts, and that's just not the case. It hurts my heart when I get attacked that way, because I'm just trying to do what's right for kids.
Have any of these sponsors given you a one-on-one to where you can look at them and say, listen, here's our side of it?
I have not talked to any of the sponsors. I've talked to some of the people that are promoting it, and they've got a heavy hitters on their list that have a lot of influence with our state legislators. And, just having your buddy say, I need you to vote for this because our society is in trouble, they are.
Yeah.
And
well, I would add, and thank you. Thanks for coming on, Robin. I appreciate it. I would add that the main sponsor on the Senate side is an individual that for years was active in private education and not dealing with public education. But I'll deal with a lot of those issues later. I will, as we make some comments as we head down the road.
Howdy folks, it's a Kylie Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hey Bossin' breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Kylie burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon rattling pie with a calm roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing, because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more.
Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
Hi, Hunter Ellis here for Night Hero Binoculars by Atomic Beam. These binoculars let you see anything, even in pitch black darkness. Gotcha.
The secrets are powerful wide-angle atomic beam laser that reveals objects up to 150 yards away, hidden by darkness.
During the day, Night Hero gives you 10 times magnification. And when the sun goes down, press the Night Bright button to see clearly in the dark.
Light up garbage-eating critters or spot thieves before they even get close.
Call or click now and get Night Hero binoculars for just $39.99. Order right now and you can double it. Plus, get our best-selling atomic beam flashlight. Just pay a separate fee. We'll even ship them to you free. This TV special offer is not available on Amazon. You can get it all, but you have to order now.
Call 1-800-619-1091. That's 1-800-619-1091. Or visit bynighthero.com. That's bynighthero.com. Order now.
Attention! Have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Elmiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Elmiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Elmiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Welcome back to Down the Road. We're going to get a chance now to visit with Kylie Hall. Now, Kylie's out there fighting COVID. She's in the war each and every day, and she's the project coordinator for the NDSU Department of Public Health and the Center for Immunization Research and Foundation. Let's bring her in. Kylie, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joel. Always good to be on.
You know, you had a profession before all of this. you were respected before all of this. Did you ever think your life was going to change this much?
You know, we talk about that, from time to time. Did we ever think we'd be working through a pandemic? And the answer is no. And it's unfortunate that we are, but man, we're doing some really cool work, and it's allowed us to be creative, and it's really made us think outside the box, and the experience is phenomenal. So it's okay. We're going to keep fighting so we can get out of this pandemic and get back to our day jobs.
Yeah, I've got a ton of issues I want to talk to you about, but of course the one that's on the front burner for a lot of people is Johnson & Johnson. Word coming out that there's real concerns, or at least there are amongst some, when it comes to the Johnson & Johnson vaccine and how the CDC is looking at it. Can you walk people through what's going on?
Absolutely. So yesterday, Tuesday, the CDC and the FDA issued a joint statement saying that they were going to pause the administration of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine. Their safety monitoring systems picked up 6 cases of a rare blood clot that was also combined with low platelet count. And seeing that safety signal, seeing that it occurred in 6 women that were 18 to 48 with a common time period, so 6 to 13 days after vaccine administration, it was a safety signal for the CDC and the FDA. So they said, let's pause the administration of the vaccine. We're going to make sure it's safe. We're going to make sure, we're going to try and determine if the vaccine is actually causing this, or was it just a coincidence? And we still don't know if the vaccine is causing that rare outcome. The other thing that was really important is that they needed to get information out to healthcare providers. So with this specific type of blood clot, you do not want to use the standard treatment. You need to use a different treatment. The standard treatment can actually be really harmful. And so it was really important to get that information out to healthcare providers so that they knew to be looking for this in people who've maybe recently had Johnson & Johnson, so that they could accurately treat it and give the right treatment, and then make sure that it's being reported to CDC. And then lastly, it's just important for them to be giving us this information for safety and transparency. We've said all along that safety was our top priority for COVID vaccines. We're giving them to millions of healthy people every single day, and vaccine confidence is at stake. And so I think it was a good move on behalf of the CDC to put a little bit of a pause out there, and we'll see what comes from the CDC meeting this afternoon.
There are vaccination enemies out there. You know that, and I know that. Does this play right into their hand, and does it play into their hand with so little of what has happened, and not even the knowledge that Johnson & Johnson was the cause of it?
Yeah, so I think we might see a little bit of an uptick in vaccine hesitancy in the short term, but I actually think in the long term this plays in our favor. We vaccine advocates, we say that safety is a top priority, and so in the long run I hope that people can look back at this in months or years down the road and say, we did the right thing by pausing this vaccination, trying to figure out if it was caused, and if there were any risk factors or underlying conditions, changing our recommendations as a result of what we learned. And I think it's also important to note that, we didn't necessarily see this outcome in the clinical trials, and because it's so rare, we might not see it in the clinical trials. It looks like right now the current rate's about 1 in a million. We don't test vaccines in millions of people before we give them. We test them in tens of thousands of people. And so these rare outcomes aren't necessarily going to be found in clinical trials, which is why we monitor vaccines for safety for years after vaccinations are approved and authorized by the FDA. So I think in our world, it's actually going to play in our favor.
So I got to bring up my personal experience. A lot of my coworkers, including my producer on my radio show, and one of the individuals that is a good friend that I work with, they went and got the Johnson & Johnson, and that was the preferred vaccination to them. And one of the reasons that they did was because of the one shot. Are you seeing that a lot? The fact that individuals like myself don't have to go through that process of 2 shots.
Yeah, the Johnson & Johnson was a really good vaccine candidate for a number of reasons, and the one shot is huge, right? So it's great for people who only want to get 1 dose, or I think of my friends who are not so fond of needles. It's a great option for them, right? It's also great for hard to reach populations. If anybody has transportation barriers or doesn't seek healthcare regularly, Johnson & Johnson is a great option for them as well, and we're also using it in places like urgent cares and upon hospital discharge. So I think it's still a great candidate, and we'll see what the safety data says, but that it was a candidate for a lot of people, and I hope we can get another 1-dose vaccine on the market.
Is there a common thread between those individuals that experienced this, that kind of put up the red flag, that empowered the people that said, look, it's a bad vaccine? Is there a red flag or a common thread between these individuals?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so what we look for in the safety data, we have a list of pre-specified outcomes, and stroke is one of them. And blood clots are a serious outcome. And then we also look for any kind of a temporal association. So all of these were occurring, 6 to 13 days after the vaccine was administered. So that makes us think that there's some kind of association. If the rare events would have happened at day 5 and day 37, that doesn't raise as much of an alarm, but because they happened so close together, that is one of the things that notified our safety systems that there might be a safety issue that we need to look into further.
So does it go away? Do people not trust it now? Does the CDC make a decision that, with the other vaccines available and with the public perception and the anti-vaxxers and quite frankly the people scared, does Johnson & Johnson go away?
Yeah, I think that's something that the CDC and the FDA are going to have to weigh. So with any product, there's risk, right? There's risk of taking ibuprofen, there's risk of taking vaccines too. And so it might be that the CDC says, we've determined that it's not caused, any of these rare adverse events, and we'll put it back on the market. It might come with a disclaimer that, one in so many, we typically have 1 event for so many doses administered, and this is something you need to be aware of, and you sign a waiver, for example. It might be that we exclude it for people with certain conditions or underlying factors, or who take certain medications. I think that's all going to come out with the CDC and the FDA in due time. I don't know if it's actually going to go away. I think with how prevalent COVID is and knowing how rare this side effect is, I think when you weigh the risks and the benefits of the vaccine still outweigh the risks. But that's something that our scientists and our ethicists are going to be weighing as they make the decision of whether or not this goes back on the market. a
lot of times when we think of vaccinations, we think of the United States. And that's what we think about. We look at herd immunity, we look at, the 300 plus million Americans, and we look at that number based on that. We don't look at it from the perspective of the world, which United States is in fact just that. The world is so small now. When I think of Johnson & Johnson, and I think of the plus of Johnson & Johnson, many people that I think of in the world don't have access to getting that vaccine and might only once. And so the loss of Johnson & Johnson, if in fact that ends up happening over these quite frankly, small number of cases. What do you think that will do to the overall world population?
Yeah, it'll certainly slow down the pace at which we can vaccinate around the world. So when you think about Johnson & Johnson, one of the things that makes it a really great candidate is its storage requirements. So both Pfizer and Moderna need to be stored at cold temperatures, Pfizer specifically. But Johnson & Johnson has a long refrigerator life. And because it's one dose, you can bring it into remote parts of the world, keep it cold enough to get it there, and then it's one shot and done, and you can go on to your next location and you don't have to return for that second dose at a specified interval. And so when you think of not only the impact on the US vaccine campaign, but the campaign to vaccinate the world, this would certainly have an impact on it, losing Johnson & Johnson as they scale up their manufacturing.
Kylie, last words come from you. What do you want to tell people?
Yeah, I want to tell people that if you haven't considered getting vaccinated yet, I would strongly encourage you to do so. We have 2 very safe vaccines that are on the market right now, Pfizer and Moderna. We've given 180 million doses of those 2 vaccines, no safety concerns other than the rare anaphylaxis, which is treatable. They are 2-dose vaccines, so you need to return for that second dose, but they look to be very safe. And we're learning more about them and how effective they are in the real world, and they work really well. And this is how we get out of this. So I would encourage anybody to go get vaccinated. If you have specific questions, reach out to our center at NDSU, reach out to the North Dakota Department of Health. Our websites have great resources, and make sure you're getting your information from a credible source. Talk to your doctor about it. We know that 90% of doctors who are offered a COVID vaccine take it. And I'd hope that your doctor would make a strong recommendation for it, because everyone needs to get vaccinated for us to get out of this.
And I just also want to throw this at you. You folks that are viewing this have had COVID. It's not the flu. It's much more serious than the flu. I have a coworker right now with COVID. He has no sense of smell, no sense of taste, and he's afraid of how far that and how long that can go on. So, and I've also had the vaccine, and I got to tell you, you sleep better the night after you've been fully vaccinated. Kylie, keep doing what you're doing. Keep fighting the good fight and keep helping people to understand and encouraging them to get vaccinated. Thank you.
Thanks, Joel.
When we come back, Rick Gion's going to join us. We're going to talk about a push to take away one of your constitutional rights, and that is the right of the initiated measure here in North Dakota. Stick around.
Beck News brings you real people and real news. Every weekday on KNDB, KNDM, and KRDK. Start your evening with the Dr. Duke Show at 4. Take a fresh look at current events with Ladies of Another View at 4:30. Go down the road with Joel at 5:30. Watch No Apologies with Becker at 9. Cap off your night with No Filter with Debbie at 10. Beck News. Real people, real news.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream sheets. When you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Introducing the Cool Turtle, the ultra-comfortable mask enhancer that creates a protective, cool, and breathable space between your mask and your face. Simply slide under any mask or gaiter and immediately feel the refreshing pocket of air surrounding your face. Cool Turtle's ergonomically designed, soft, comfortable shell immediately reduces mask friction, allowing you to breathe and talk in a comfortable environment.
I can actually breathe. With the Cool Turtle, no more sweating.
It's like I don't even have a mask on.
Call now and get not 1, not 2, but 3 Cool Turtles for just $10. Order now and we'll send you 2 more Cool Turtles free. No fees, absolutely free. Plus, you can get a 10-pack of 4-ply face masks. Just pay a separate fee. This offer is not available on Amazon. Get the real Cool Turtle now.
Call 1-800-270-1219. That's 1-800-270-1219. Or visit getcoolturtle.com. Order now.
Indoor football is back in Bismarck. Bucks football season is right around the corner. Grab a friend or family member for a night of action-packed, hard-hitting entertainment. The Bucks open at the Bismarck Event Center May 8th as they take on the Massachusetts Pirates. Catch the sweetest seats in the house right on the sidelines with VIP service at a Bucks turf table. Available now for single-game purchases. Secure your tickets today by calling 701-595-0771. Bucks football, half the field and double the fun.
I'm Rick Becker from No Apologies. Welcome to your after-hours oasis of sanity. How can these people not see that they're just clowns?
We help simplify and educate you on things going on in the legislature and around the country.
Asking the hard-hitting questions.
But also having Lee Stack and Sid and Marty Croft stuff, and we've talked about that sometimes. It's bad.
Watch us weeknights at 9 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
Welcome back to Down the Road. It takes away your rights. That's what Senate Bill 2022 does. Needs to get your attention, and you need to really keep an eye on this bill because many of you are in favor of having a say. That's why I'm going to bring in Rick Gion. Rick is with North Dakota Voters First. Rick, thanks for coming down the road with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me, Joel.
I want to talk a little bit about this. First off, explain to people what North Dakota Voters First is.
We're a nonpartisan voter advocacy group. We've been looking at redistricting, fair redistricting this session, as well as looking at some of those voter suppression bills.
And I also know from experience in doing a radio show that you're also working with both sides of the aisle in terms of, for example, the North Dakota Watchdog Network is a very conservative group, and they're your partners on this.
Absolutely. Yep. Dustin Garolo, he's really a sharp guy, and he's looking after these things too. I mean, really what this is about is kind of a big business power grab with this new measure coming to light. And they're trying to take away your right for your vote to be effective at the ballot box. They're trying to increase thresholds because they don't trust you. And that's just not a North Dakota thing to do. I mean, basically, they're trying to cancel you.
So let's talk about it. 2022, what is it? What does it do?
Well, are we talking about the measure? Or
I'm talking about the measure itself. I'm talking about what's going to be put in front of people. And maybe I have the wrong number specifically, but what does the petition allow and take away from people?
Exactly. So we're it raises the usually constitutional initiated measures. It's a 50+1 simple majority vote to get approved. What these folks want to do, the big business, these folks are bank owners associated with big oil. They don't trust you, and what they're trying to do is raise it by 10% to 60%, so it makes it harder.
You have to have a supermajority.
You have to have a supermajority. I mean, and we have a long, rich tradition in North Dakota of the initiated measure process. It works here, and it's the people's right. It's people powered to bring initiated things to the ballot box.
So the bill forces a 60% approval to be able to pass an initiated measure. What else does it do?
Well, and there's in there it's one subject, which is fine, I guess, but it's a little hypocritical, and we're seeing some hypocrisy and some deceit from these folks already a couple days in. I mean, they have two subjects in this measure, and so already we're seeing some hypocrisy. It's an interesting play here.
Do they increase the amount of signatures on the petitions? I'm curious, or do they leave that the same?
No, they're leaving that the same, and from my understanding is it takes 4% of the population, so I think the Secretary of State has been saying around 31,000. I think the aim of this group is to get 35 to 40,000. You always want to go over. They have plenty of time. They're coming out early. This is a slick campaign with a slick name, and even their name has been co-opted from another group. And so, I mean, we're already seeing these things. This has been in the works for a while, and ongoing here, you're going to see them out and about. We just encourage people not to sign this thing.
I want to make sure I understand. So what they're putting in this is that you can't have any more than two things you're asking for in the measure, even though they're asking for two things in the measure. You can't. Right. You've got to have 60% to pass it, even though they need 50 plus one to pass it.
Yeah, exactly. So there's a lot of hypocrisy in this measure already.
Okay. I want to bring up the fact that many on the right, and it has been on the right, criticized initiated measures before, and they criticized them because of the fact that people paid individuals to come in and get signatures.
Yeah.
They're already saying they're going to do that.
They're already saying it. They were on another political pundit podcast yesterday saying that. They haven't denied they're going to take out-of-state money. So, again, there's some hypocrisy here. I mean, if you want to run a pure campaign like they were saying in their press conference yesterday, you kind of got to come out and actions speak louder than words.
All right, so let me throw this out to you. And you might not want to go down that rabbit hole, but I'm going to.
Yeah.
This is about the Ethics Commission.
Sure.
This is about the Ethics Commission. This is about the fact that the grannies came out, they got their brooms out, and they said, you know what, we're going to put transparency and honesty into our process. We're going to put an ethics commission together. And have they said that that's what's ticked them off, the fact that we end up having conversations about lobbyists and SpaghettiOs and how hard it is for legislators?
Yeah, in their press conference yesterday, they mentioned some of those things about the Ethics Commission. Why is an Ethics Commission bad? I don't know. Other states have had an Ethics Commission for a long time. It
well,
makes
here's
for,
why it's bad.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why it's bad. Because it actually gives transparency to something they used to do.
Exactly.
And again, I'm so tired of, and I make the mistake myself, I say the legislature. This is conservatives in the legislature. You're bipartisan, but I'm going to say that.
Yeah, it's a group of Republicans. Yeah,
okay.
I'll say it too. I mean,
so, okay, let me give an example of what they're mad about. Jim Casper.
Yeah.
I got to fight over this before. State representative from South Fargo. Jim Casper gets on a plane, goes to Antigua, comes back to North Dakota, and it initiates and tries to put through complete gaming in North Dakota. Not restrictions, not charitable, not Native American. He wants North Dakota to be Vegas. Yeah. I asked him on my radio show, I said, who paid for your flight there? Who paid for the hotel room? Did you get paid? Who brought you home? He wouldn't tell me. He got mad at me because I asked him the question. I would ask whether or not it's ethical. You know, he can do it. But to me, he owes it to us to tell us he did it. And that's what they're fighting. They're mad about that. They're mad about the steak dinners and the lobsters and, you know, and we're going to end up losing a constitutional right because of that.
Yeah, and I hope we don't. I mean, our small but mighty group is going to push back. We pushed back against some of the voter suppression laws, the redistricting. We got the secrecy language out of that bill. And so our group is small but mighty. I think we're going to, we'll push back on these. We're already forming a bipartisan group like you were mentioning. But yeah, I mean, you and I both were in Bismarck for a while there when they were getting free steak dinners at Peacock Alley every night. And you'd be having a cool one in the bar with your buddies, and you'd be seeing the leadership come out with the lobbyists from whoever, whatever industry, and it's just not right. And people need to know what they're doing.
Well, and not only that, but they can go ahead and live their life that way.
Yeah.
They can be Jim Casper, but it doesn't mean they don't have to tell us.
Yeah.
And that's what's got them mad to where they're jamming this new constitutional rule down our throat. I'm going to bring up one other issue, which is eminent domain.
Yeah.
A perfect example, my sister, Heidi Heitkamp, along with the former chairman of the Republican Party, the former chairman, Curly Hauglin, got sick of people being rolled on the edges of communities, and they defended eminent domain. They used initiated measure to do that because it was a takings. And you know what? They didn't pay anybody. They got people to go out there and say, would you sign this? They got it on the ballot, and over 60% voted for that.
Yeah.
So are they afraid of that as well? Is this being driven by them being able to ram through the takings of people's land?
Well, right. And as far as this measure goes, I mean, they're going to be those are people-driven, constitutional initiated measures. I mean, what they're trying to do is take all of that away, basically. The 60% threshold would really kill a lot of these initiated efforts.
So if people want to find out more about North Dakota Voters First in this position, where do they go?
NorthDakotaVotersFirst.org, and we are also on Facebook and Twitter.
All right. Thank you, Rick.
Yeah.
And we're going to call you back. We need to keep up on this.
Sounds good.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's a takings, is what it is. It's taking away your right, because if you don't agree with them, if you want to make sure that your voice is heard, you don't get to anymore. If this passes, you don't get to anymore. They can use fancy names. They can use people like Mike Haugen, who is chairing this, the former adjutant general, but it's wrong. And you need to not sign that petition. When we come back, some comments on what we talked about earlier with Robin Nelson and the hypocrisy of this legislature right after this.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to mypillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing, because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more.
Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
Watch No Filter with me, Debbie Schlussel, for no-nonsense, unfiltered analysis of the news that matters to you. You'll see engaging guests.
It began a 444-day nightmare.
Entertaining analysis. And it has everything to do with something that happened in history. And honest movie reviews. Trust me, this is just atrocious. No Filter with Debbie, weeknights at 10 p.m. Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
So let's take a look at what Republicans are doing in the legislature, okay? It's a power grab. It's a power grab. It's a taking away of the power of the people, which is you. You know, you might be one of the most conservative people in the world that is watching this right now, but you're losing your power to do something if some of this passes. You are. What you're losing is the right to say what you did was wrong. And we're going to start an initiated measure, and we're going to make sure you never can do that again. Ever. You don't ever get to do that again. And, you know, don't kid yourself. This is being driven by big business. This is being driven by individuals that want to make sure tax breaks are there, by individuals that want to make sure, for example, gaming is there. They're going to donate boatloads of money to this. They're going to donate boatloads of money to this because all they have to do is get a Republican legislature to pass it. And then they know to basically repeal it. All they got to do is hang on to 40% plus one. That's right, 40% plus one. That's a pretty low bar, ladies and gentlemen. That's a really low bar. And so it makes it easy. And I gave the example of Jim Casper on purpose. How many of you want North Dakota to turn into Las Vegas? That's what his legislation would have done. That's what his legislation would have done. Now, Jim Casper now is surrounded by people just like Jim Casper. The Republican from South Fargo has the group he needs, the ultra-conservatives, that he needs to get whatever he wants, because they're doing it. They're doing it. They're passing things that just they want, but not you, the public. And you can say, well, we voted them in. We sent them there. That doesn't mean that they aren't going to do something behind your back. You voted for an ethics commission, right? You wanted ethics in state government. You wanted to be able to see where they got the money. Well, in Jim Casper's particular case, he doesn't like it. He doesn't like it. And you know why he doesn't like it? Because you would have got to know that he went to Antigua. He was flown there at their cost. He was lobbied there at their cost. He came back from there at their cost. And you know what? There were donations after that. There were donations after that. And then he pushes for exactly what they want. Now, what he was doing wasn't illegal. It was unethical. It was unethical to not tell the public what he was doing. You know, he puts the bill in. He says, all right, here's the deal. I got a bill, and I want gambling to be 100% legal, in North Dakota. Well, that's fine. Anybody can do that. You know, I served 14 years in the state legislature. I saw a lot of those bills. What wasn't fine was the fact that we didn't know he had gotten the money to do that from a gambling industry. And he didn't feel he had to tell anybody because he didn't want people to know that. But I did. And I'm the one that shined the great big light of day on it. And it ticked him off. It ticked him off big time. Now you're seeing some of that in this same legislature. You're seeing them use the power that they have been given by you, the voter, to take away your individual rights. This is a perfect example. An absolutely perfect example of what can happen when you have a supermajority. What can happen when you can look around and say, well, Rick will vote for that. Rich will vote for that. Dick will vote for that. Yeah, they'll all vote for that. Yana Murdoch's going to vote for that. Hello. Well, here's the thing. When you have a supermajority like that and you're not accountable to the people, they don't get to know what you're doing. That's a dangerous thing. I'm going to give you another example, okay? In western North Dakota, do you think with what's already happened with the Northwest landowners having to take on oil for their own personal property rights, do you think that there's going to be a bill introduced? It already is. There already is a bill introduced that's being pushed by the Industrial Commission, and that bill is a bad piece of legislation. And it takes away the power of the landowner in western North Dakota when it comes to their rights against the oil industry. So, if it's a bad piece of legislation, the only way they can fix it is to start an initiated measure, go around, get enough signatures to put it on the ballot, and then campaign against it. But you know what? Those Northwest landowners don't have enough money to go out and pay petition seekers. They don't have enough money for that. They don't have enough money to run ads on TV and on radio. They don't have enough money for that. But they have what is good and what is decent on their side. But you know what? They would never get 60% of the vote. They would never get that. And the oil industry knows it. The oil industry knows it. And so to sit there and say, and quietly behind the scenes, to say, we just don't like the fact that it's so easy to change our Constitution. What you don't like is the fact that you now have an ethics commission. You don't like it. And the reason you don't like it is the very reason we had Representative Kempenich out in Bowman complaining about getting more money to legislators and complaining about the fact that he now had to buy his own dinner. I mean, seriously, you must have seen that. You heard about legislators complaining about the fact that they had to eat cans of SpaghettiOs when they used to be taken out for steak dinners. And they don't like the Ethics Commission. They don't. For 14 years I served. And for 14 years, along with some of those times, I had a beer bought for me. I had a steak bought for me. And you know what my problem would have been about making sure that I adhered to, and people got to know that through the Ethics Commission? My problem would have been nothing. Nothing. If I couldn't show people what I got, if I was so worried about what somebody perceived me doing, then I wasn't doing something right. I wasn't. Now, I want to bring up something that happened a lot of years ago today. On this date in history, in 1865, one of the greatest, if not the greatest, president of the United States was shot. That's right. This nation lost Abraham Lincoln. And the thing about losing Abraham Lincoln was, you might say, his job was done. What the good Lord called him to do, he had completed. We had the Civil War won, we had ended slavery, we had done all of that. But I would throw this at you. Just think of what that great man could have done in that term that he was ready to serve. Just think of what he could have accomplished when he could have brought this nation together. I encourage you to go watch the movie Lincoln. And I think it's a perfect example of how strategic that wonderful president was. How strategic he was when it came to using the tools that he had to make sure that it ended up as an amendment into the Constitution to abolish slavery. It wasn't just done through executive action. It wasn't just done with a pen. It was done through the process, and it was done the right way. Folks, there's a lot of things we can learn from that great man. And the first thing you're going to get told in North Dakota is that he was a Republican. And I'm going to tell you this, he wasn't the type of Republican we have now. I'll give you some closing comments when we come back right here on Down the Road.
Do you worry about going to the dentist? After all, a visit to the dentist can easily cost $2,000 or more. Well, relax. The Carefree dental card is now available in your area. Call now and we'll send your actual card at no cost today. With the Carefree dental card, you go to the dentist whenever you need and you instantly pay a lot less. Activate your card and you can start using it immediately. From exams and cleanings to more expensive procedures like crowns, dentures, even braces, they're all included with the Carefree dental card. Say you go to the dentist today without any card and your bill is, well, ouch. Wait a minute, let's try that again. You go to the dentist today and show your Carefree dental card, you save $525. The Carefree dental card is just $15.95 a month, so call now and make going to the dentist carefree.
Call 1-800-416-5739 to receive your Carefree dental card information kit. 1-800-416-5739. Call now.
I can't say enough good things about these nano hearing aids.
Real people talking about nano hearing aids.
The hearing quality is great.
Until now, hearing aids used to be too expensive for the average person. Until nano. Call now and you'll get your nano hearing aids for only $297. You'll save $100. When you buy one hearing aid, Nano will give you a second hearing aid free. Call right now.
1-800-213-3815.
We're the ladies of Another View, bringing you a fresh view on local issues.
Thank you for your patience and understanding.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that the most condescending, rude email you've ever received?
Well, welcome to
National
the third term of a certain president. I really believe that.
And different perspectives you won't get on the mainstream media. Watch us weekday afternoons at 4:30 Central Time on Beck News and at beck.news.
Who do you trust with your digital life? Not all cloud backup providers keep your data truly private. Beck Cloud Backup uses advanced multi-layer encryption to keep your family photos, videos, and sensitive business documents secure and only for your eyes. Your Beck Lightband Internet service already includes 50 gigs of free storage to keep your digital life safe and secure. Call us at 701-475-2361 to start using your Beck Cloud Backup today.
Attention! Have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Almiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Elmiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Elmiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
The officer that shot Dante Wright is, well, she resigned. She resigned, and she probably should have resigned. Now, if you're a frequent viewer of Down the Road, what you're going to see is you're going to see or hear the fact that I supported the officer in this sense. I think she made a mistake, a tragic mistake, a foolish mistake, a mistake she never should have made, that her training didn't put her in a place to make a mistake. But she made a mistake. She did. And it resulted in a death. And it resulted in what you're seeing play out on TV each night, which is, I don't want to say the riots, but certainly the protests, which in some cases have caused looting. And quite frankly, it's going to cause the type of trouble that this country didn't need with the George Floyd situation going on. With the fact that we've got Derek Chauvin trial going on at the same time. So she resigned. Now that's hard. You know, for 20 plus years, she has been a member of that police force. And a good member of that police force, according to some of the news reports that I've seen. So your career can change that fast as a law enforcement officer. When I say the vast majority of law enforcement are good and decent people, I'm not sure that the words are strong enough. I'm really not. I'm not sure that, you know, and if I say 99.9%, which I've said, are great people out there doing a really tough job, I'm not sure that my numbers reflect that as much as what my heart reflects that. This is hard when you see a woman's career blown up. But I will tell you this, you know, if you're the family of Wright, it's pretty hard too. This is a young man. And this is a young man with a child that isn't going to be there to see that child grow up. Now, you're going to hear reports about his past. You're going to hear that. Does that justify his shooting? No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. What happened was a mistake, in my opinion. A tragic mistake, a foolish mistake, but a mistake. And while the officer, I think, was forced into a position and needed to resign, it doesn't change the fact that that day, when something bad happened, we needed to take a step back and take a look at it and say, all right, are we all treating this in a fair way? I'm Joel Heitkamp. It's been good riding with you again.